the cell. Watch the bodies hit the floor. You know she's always leaving you wanting more. You can't hide from her too soon. Here comes Detective Legacy Moon. Legacy Moon.
Hello, 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 hello. How is everyone doing? I am Legacy Moon, and this is True Crime and Mysteries. We do some true crime, we do some mysteries, and we do some shenanigans, and sometimes we've got to set the record straight. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Now, I know a call dropped. Okay, I know, but we won't be doing that. That call will be there, won't go anywhere, and so I wanted to do this. I had this in my mind to do yesterday. So I am going to do it today. Now, I know that you guys are aware of the recent events that have gone on, that have taken place since last week, clear on up to what's Monday, I guess, clear on up to now. There's been a lot of things going on, and we all know what it is. We know this started when V. Lenore had, spilled some tea that she learned on Shirley. This is tea that she got organically. Oh, and by the way, hello to all of you in the chat. What is wrong with me? I won't be speaking individually to you guys because I want to get through this, but I will be, welcome, welcome, welcome to you all. Today is what, Tuesday? Um, them folks say, y'all, I kicked my own sister off my phone to be in here because I can't miss it. All right. So, like I was saying, you know, uh, V. Lenore had gotten, she did the tea on Shirley. Well, there were, a lot of people who did not like that she did that. And there were a lot of people that were very vocal about it. And that's fine. You can have an opinion, but you don't have to be nasty. And you know, and more importantly, you don't, I mean, like, if you leave a comment on somebody else's page, don't have you have the gall to do it, but you don't have the gall to put you don't have the bravery to do it in your own name, leaving comments after comment in different names, and some of them disappearing. Now, if y'all can remember, I had that experience too a couple months ago where I was getting, maybe you don't know, I probably didn't tell you guys. This was in December, and I was getting a lot of hate because I did not have a problem with Sylvia at that time. Now she can kick rocks and jump off a cliff, but at the time all was well. So I was getting a lot of hate. And one particular day, I got back to back to back to back from, I mean, this person, and I was live, and this person was just leaving me comments. And I answered the first one, but then, another one would come and another one. And, I got sick of it when I went to block that person. Oh, them folks, you said I mentioned something on Nyla's panel. Well, after that, I went back to block this person, these people, because it was like in three different names. They were gone. They were gone. And I was like, what? So who does that? Well, that happened to V too. And, to me, that's a pattern. So now I know who it is. I also want to say that I never felt, I've always felt ill at ease, by this person, because they were a mod, and Native and I both unmodded her, and for good reason. But I'm gonna say this: I don't understand how. You are going to send an email to somebody and talk about God, and then at the same time, God punishing us, but you weaponize the illnesses that we have against us, and that's why we're always sick. And Nyla being the leader, and just a bunch of BS. That's not true. I don't report to Nyla. I don't. Everyone knows that uh B Native and I are close. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows we talk all the time. No secret. I don't I don't talk to Nyla like that. Nyla don't know what I got going on over here. Okay? And she's been in my chat one time, and that's it. So she is not my leader or any of our leaders. But I say all this to say that I saw this person for who they were long ago. And now that all of this has come out, we are putting together emails and different comments and stuff that we have gotten. And now it all makes sense and it's all tying together. But I will say this. I have when you I this is another thing, using anything I've shared with you as a weapon against me. Yes, JMM says, didn't she complain about being honey, it's always something. The everybody's sick. Everybody or somebody's dying. Well, and you notice she only does that in natives chat. Somebody's dying. Okay. So yeah, yeah, you you are right. And I'm very leery of people who share too much. And like I said, I have, because this is a platform, and sometimes things tie in. So everyone knows I was abused by that person I married. Everybody knows that. Um, everybody knows about my abuse, my essay. I've talked about it. Um, but that shouldn't be used against me either for talking about it. And as it's a mystery. I know, like, some of the things I do is like a mystery, like y'all don't know a lot about me. And it is for this very reason. It is for this very reason that I don't share a lot. And anything that I have shared has been thrown back at me as a weapon. And I don't like that. And as I was saying before I interrupted my own self, I'm very leery of people who share too much too soon. I did not know this lady, and this lady sent me probably a 6 paragraph dissertation telling me about her life and stuff like that. That makes me leery. You don't know me, I don't know you. Now, if I'm talking, say for example, one time I did something about battered women. Um, and it got deep. I think I was doing Cecil, really, and it got deep because I know it was Miss Principal who was saying that she did not understand that the kind of like the cycle and why women stay. And so I asked people to reach out for me so that I can do a panel, which I am going to do. I'm trying to organize my life, and I'm still trying to get organized. By the way, you guys, yay for me. I finally got all my comments caught up, and I got down to the last ones where, and this is why I'm behind, because I knew those comments were on there about my nephew and I just could not do it. And I did it today and I got through it. It was hard, but I did it. Anyway, um when that kind of just got me all organized. Now I'm getting all emotional. But anyway, I'm just when I'm talking about a topic and it relates to you and you share your story, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about I done did a Nesto video and I say I don't like the holidays, and then I get this email and I read like the first paragraph and I said, I'm not reading all this. And then another email and another, they back to back to back to back. Then it's Instagram messages, just all of the things. And it, you know, I just, then you start comparing with, the other content creators that you do talk to. And it's like, What? She said what? She told you know, so it's just a mess. So what that brings me to this. What we are here for today. And I might have to do this in part 2 because V and Native go on at 8 and they will be on at the same they will be over at V's house. And so anyway. So the reason why I'm doing this is because this is not an exposure. This is first of all, I think this person needs help. They say they've gotten in are getting therapy is or whatever therapy, right? But serial thank you, Bible lady, serial emailer. But this person, they need help. It's psychotic. And I know that this person has a lot of troll accounts. They have said it. And I'm not so sure that they haven't trolled me. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. If y'all remember, I was live a few days ago and I don't even know what I was talking about. I think we were talking about, I think it was that day that I did Shirley Strawberry. If you missed that live, go check it out. But very weird comment. Where is that comment? Let me see. Mm, can't find it. But the long of the short is they came, and the reason why I'm really looking for it is because I want, that screen name. I want to get that screen name. But they came in here and they left a comment, something to the effect of, how is this different from what V did to Miss Fine One? And, I had to explain to them, no, that was something totally different. And the difference was Miss Fine One lied versus she lied and she got busted in her lie, and it was all bought out once again over on V's live, and the content creator who kind of fell into it was also on V's live. So there was a difference. I really want to find that. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it because they're probably listening, and that might be one of her troll accounts. Because I could not see for the life of me what we were talking about had anything to do with that situation. Can't find it right now, but I will get it because I want to read it to you. Um, like Chick-fil-A gal said, well, she gained her a YouTube name like content chicken nugget with sweet and sour sauce. Yeah, exactly. So, what I'm going to do, like I said, this is not to expose. I really want to understand. And this is also to let people know if you need mental health help, get it. I don't know if this is a mental health issue or if this is just simply an issue of you're an evil person or some type of troll. I don't know. Played in all she and let's be clear. She has played in the faces of the entire Chernesto sector as far as I'm concerned. She has. So let me just I'll say that. But I really want an understanding, and I really want you to listen to the story that you're about to hear. I want you to pay close attention to it because it's very interesting. So you have to listen. I will have to say this will be a trigger warning. Let me get my banner up. This is triggering. Now I am going to do commentary, but it won't be I won't be stopping, like I do with the Nesto stuff unless I just absolutely cannot help myself. But I will be doing commentary here and there, and I will probably be typing in the chat. So I wanted to say that. But before we begin, y'all know what I got to do. Okay. I want to read this Fair Use Act disclaimer This content is for educational purposes only, and it sure is because we need an understanding. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, commenting, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. There may be times I forget to use the word allegedly. Please note it is always implied, okay? Now, got that out the way. So let's get into this right here. Mods, if there is someone in the chat that you feel is a troll or that needs to be blocked, you I want the name. I want a screenshot and I want the name and then block them, please, and thank you. Miss Piggy Braxton said uh I went to secretarial school and I can't type as fast as her. And that's another thing, trying to rope other subscribers into mess. And there are subscribers in here right now who can attest to that. They can attest to that, and they're in here right now. I'm not going to call out names, but they can attest to that. Um, I'm gonna let me go. I want to get it right. I didn't think to get it right to the spot where I need it at. Y'all know how I do. All right, y'all. Here we go. Let me share it, and we will get into this. And like I said, this is not for. Y'all know how I feel about the chat. Everybody's adults, and I believe everybody has an opinion, and they have the right to express it. But I will say, kind of, sort of, be, oh shoot, I Lord have mercy. All right, let me do this little housekeeping stuff, and then we'll get into it. We have, let me see, get it Get it, get it, get it. All right. We have one gifted membership by Only Me 23. And let's see who got gifted. Messy Ceci has been gifted one Legacy Moon True Crime and Mysteries membership. Drop your new emojis in the chat. And y'all, please welcome Messy Ceci as a new member.
New member. Welcome, new member.
All right. Then we have, let me see, we've got a super chat from Attitude and Tylenol. She said, this is my troll account. My real one is The Real Jefferson Family Chronicles. You know what? You need to go to the moon, but I ain't going to do it because that was funny. We also have a member milestone. I really wish Ev Mux would find a way to do these member milestones. Let me find it. It is from, I will tell you, is this it? Is this it? Please be it. Nope, nope, nope. It ain't it. That ain't it. That ain't it. That ain't it. Oh my gosh. Well, it is from, I'm still looking, but it's from Compton Ebony. I hate that I can't get this up here. Jefferson Chronicles. Here we is this it? No, that's Messy Ceci. I can't. Okay, just because we are crunched for time. We've got a member milestone from Compton Ebony, and it should be somewhere near here. Uh, okay, okay, got it. Okay, so it is from Compton Ebony. She has been a member for 12 whole months. Compton Ebony said, y'all, I'm still in disbelief. You know what? I I don't know if I am in disbelief, but I knew I one thing I know for certain is I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked. It was just a matter of time. But thank you so much, Compton Ebony, for the member milestone, and thank you for supporting.
Member milestone. Member milestone. Hey.
I'm gonna change that. I need these folks is just they ain't it. I gotta go back to the drawing board. But anyway, thank you, Compton Ebony. Thank you for the gifted membership. Only me 23, and thank you for the super chat. Um, Attitude and Tylenol. All right, y'all. Let's dig in.
Because a lot of times you get to talking and you forget to put your banners up. So that's one thing I don't want to forget is that. And give me one moment, and then we'll bring Miss Nesto Shackle Shuffle Walk of Shame on the stage, and we'll get started. Hello to you, Nestos. How are you doing today?
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning to everyone. I'm well, thank you for asking.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for the invitation to come and be your first um, question and answer or first testimony, actually. So I'm grateful. Thank you.
No problem. And thank you for being here, for your courage and sharing your story. And so how you feel about being here today?
Well, I've been trying to determine that, but I'm already a little emotional because y'all know I got a daughter that has end stage cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and we took her to get her treatment today, and she had to have a blood transfusion, and of course that kind of upset me because I'm thinking, Lord, just let me have her pain, let her go free from this, and it's nothing I could really do to help her.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. And we'll be praying for her and you.
Thank you, thank you.
And you can do something. You can pray for her. And
Yeah,
that
I've
does
been
and
doing
prayer,
that.
yeah, and prayer does
Hmm.
work. Yeah, I'm a living testimony of that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I got experience with
yeah, I
that.
certainly am. I certainly am a witness to it.
Right. I know that's right. So I want to begin with the deep respect for your story. Uh, that you're about to hear. And Nestos has lived through experiences of trauma and trafficking within her own family. She's experienced heavy pain, and she's often been silenced during the experience that she went through. But what makes this moment powerful is that she's chosen to share her journey, not just her story of survival, but as a story of strength, resilience, and hope. Now, as you guys listen, I do invite you to do so with compassion. Please remember that this isn't just about trauma. It's about honoring the courage it takes to speak, the wisdom gained through the healing.
I do want to stop this and say this was ooh wow. This is not a press tour, as someone says. This is old. This has got to be maybe 6 months or more old. When she was on the content creator, I said what I said. I said what I said. She used to be one of my subscribers and mods, but she has actually two platforms, and she was on. She had her on as her first guest to tell her story about her life.
The light that shines through even after darkness. And so, Nestos, as far as your story go, looking, how do you want to begin with your story? You want to start from early childhood, or do you want what?
In case there's some confusement in the chat, I want to say this is Nesto. This who I'm talking about is not another content creator. This is a subscriber, and that subscriber is known as the Real Brown Family Chronicles, Publix Chicken, um, uh, Nesto Shackle Shuffle Walk of Shame. I believe she was the one who was Kathy Walsh in here trolling, and I believe she was the one who came in here the other day trolling. So, yeah. Um, Nadia B, who are you? Are you referring to me when you say, "Will you just get to the point and stop all the talking"? Are you referring to me? Because if you don't want talking, this might not be the place for you.
Where would you
Yes, I
like to
can
start
start
with your
from.
story?
Yes, I would like to start from my earliest memory of my trauma, and that was around the age of 6.
Okay.
At that time, it was very few girls born into our family, and I myself, and I had an aunt, 2 or 3 or 4 aunts or so, and we were really the only females in the family at the time. And I was actually the second generation of the girls born into the family. So I was younger than all the rest. And at the age of 6, my aunt, on my father's side, my paternal aunt, she was getting ready to leave home to move to Washington, D.C. to further her education and to get married. And her daddy saw her packing, and she had called me to her house to give me all of her baby dolls. I was getting ready to inherit all her baby dolls from, her growing up years, and I was happy to do so. And as she called me to her, her father asked her what was.
Let me just say this before she gets into the story. And for those of you who don't like talking, bye. But anyway, I am not taking from this point on. I'm not taking shit. So don't do. I'm not it. I'm not it, and I'm not the one, the two, the sixth, or the 12th. I'm not having it. This used to be a block free zone where we didn't block people. Oh, that day is over.
She doing and where she was going, and she told him that she had plans to further her education and to move away from home. And he left and went into the house. He didn't say anything. He just went in the house. But when he came back out, he had a gun, and he pointed. He had a pow pow, and he pointed it directly between her eyes, and he pulled that trigger, and she fell unalive. So that was my first trauma. I witnessed her being unalive. And then as the pow pow went off, my mother and other aunts heard me screaming, so they automatically thought that I had the pow pow. So everybody come running, and they see my aunt, they see me, I'm screaming. They didn't know really what was going on until I explained it to them. So now paramedics are being called out. Well, at that time, the funeral directors had a dual responsibility. They served as the funeral cars in the ambulance to take people to the hospital. So they came out, the police was called out, and I told my mother what happened, and I told the family, everybody, what happened. But at that time, during that time, which was in the late 60s,
Mm-hmm.
um, they did not take any statements from a child. We were just not even considered at that point. So my grandfather just told the police that he was cleaning his gun and it accidentally went off. But that's not what happened at all, because he simply told her that if I can't have you, no other man will. But
Wow.
because of that time,
Oh
because of,
my.
so he got off to some degree because his suffering came much later on his dying bed. He went through some things before he actually died, but he got off. There was no jail time. There was never even.
Miss Principal. Miss Principal said the story is boring. See, here's the thing. It's not the story that you need to be paying attention to. It is the details. Check the details.
No more questions about it. And so now we fast forward about 6 months later. My mother, she was pregnant with her, it would have been her sixth child. And her and my dad lived apart at the time. She had one household and he had the other. And this particular day, it was a Saturday, I can remember the day. This particular day, he came by the house and they got into an argument about something. And then he beat her. He beat her, he beat her, he beat her. And it didn't matter how I hollered and screamed and how I tried to stop him. I just got hit in the process as well. He didn't care. He just beat her. So later on, after he finally left, my mom found the strength to write a note and she pinned it on me and she sent me to the neighbor's house. So after the note was read, next thing I know, the hearse was pulling up at the house. And in my mind, they're just coming to take my mom to the hospital to have this baby, because she was in her last trimester. So in
Mm-hmm.
my mind, I'm just comprehending that she is going to have a baby, and I'm happy, I'm joyous. And then just a few hours later, my dad and my aunts and some friends show up and they are all crying and I'm still running and jumping like I got to, I'm gonna have me another little brother. And they was trying to tell me that my mother and my brother did not make it, but I just could not receive that. So I was in denial. But nevertheless, that was the second time I had seen somebody be unalived in front of me. And so um, after my mother's funeral, um, her children became the prize because my great grandparents left her inheritance that her children would now inherit. So we became the prize. I always thought that my great grandparents were actually my grandparents on my mother's side, but I learned after her death that they were actually my great grandparents. So now my grandparents actually show up and the battle for custody of my mother's children began because everybody knew.
Okay. This is something you're going to need to pay attention to that's coming up. Black but not bitter said, I can't even remember what I had for breakfast. My tie said, is the moon open? I wanted to read. Where is it? Okay. Them folks said, so she penned a note and then the hearse came. But how did they die? She sent a note to call the hearse and nobody checked on what the hell was going on. Thank you, them folks. Like I said, it's not the story, it's the details that you're getting from the story. And the only thing we I got out of that is that she I guess was beaten to death, I guess. But not too much that she was able to write this note and pin it on her. I don't know. I don't know. Uh, people volunteering to go to the moon. Y'all, I told you we going to get an understanding, okay? So mom's gone. She's got these great grandparents that she thought were her grandparents. I'm still not understanding how that works, but anyway, so and there was an inheritance that came from, I guess, the grandparents. I don't know. But anyway, it passes over to the kids. Now we are getting into the custody. A Chick-fil-A girl said maybe she means corner. No, because remember at the beginning she says when people die, they send out the hearse and the but you know what? Maybe she does mean corner and not hearse. You know, that would make more I can understand that because a hearse, you don't get hearse costs money. So yeah, and the coroners back then did used to drive these weird kind of little things. So that you're right. Reefa Muffin Mom said, "Did Nettie in the color purple have a note pinned on her or another movie?" Child, I don't know. And now, and I'm gonna tell y'all this. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Queen Lily. Queen Lily has written a book. She has a story of abuse, essay, all of the things. Okay. So does Rakia. You know, she has a book and everything. And I what I noticed and myself, because there's a part in this story that you're gonna hear that when someone was listening to it, they thought it sounded familiar. And it did sound familiar because when I heard it, it sounded familiar to me because it was something that I said. I feel like this person takes and has taken um like everyone's story and merged it together. Now I'm not calling her a liar. I'm just saying I believe she took everybody's story and put it together and I just if you have all of these sick relatives who are dying, shouldn't they? I'm gonna give you an example. One time she popped in Native's chat. I think he was doing. I'll do it on Monday, and she says, pray, please pray for me. My niece, she's dying. They getting ready to take the tubes out of her. So please pray. And I'm thinking, well, first of all, why are you in somebody's chat and your niece they getting ready to take the tubes out? Like I'm couldn't make that make sense. And I know at times like that, they will, when you're in ICU or whatever, they only allow a certain amount of people in. But what I do know, especially from the experience with my nephew, they will let everybody in because they know those are the last moments. Um, so brother Brother Loves Baby Oil said, "That's exactly what she does, and I'm calling her a liar." Oh, but that's not even the comment I wanted to read. You put Was that you? Oh, yeah, yeah, that was you that says, "I'll believe my ex-husband before I believe this story." Right. Them folks says them folks said I bought Rakia's book. It's in my home library. We'll be doing something with that here shortly. Reef and Muff's mom says they did that in the 40s with black funeral homes, doing both due to segregation. Well, if this was the 60s, though, I think and the South, maybe they were still doing that. I don't know. All right, y'all. Let's listen to this custody. What them folks can't get past the note. I'm sorry, them folks. The note is rather puzzling.
Whoever got the children would also have inherit some type of money or something from it. So we ended up, the court first granted custody to my grandmother. So we moved from South Carolina to Buffalo, New York to live with my grandmother, who we did not know. She did not know us. But for
Mm-hmm.
6 months, for 6 months, we all lived together, getting to know each other and everything. And 6 months later, my dad decided to get married. So 6 months later, after he was married, the court granted him custody. So he comes to Buffalo and move us back to South Carolina. Well, it was then that my home became a dungeon. I was the only girl besides the stepmother, and I'm not here to crucify, to criticize or nothing when it comes to my stepmother, because for me she was a shiro. You know, she didn't know much, and she was much like, and it's the only way I know how to explain it today. She was much probably like a Nesto and a Shirley, where she seemed to have been compliant, completely compliant with my daddy.
She is comparing her daddy to Nesto and her stepmother to Shirley being completely compliant. We don't know whether Shirley is compliant or complicit, but one thing we do know is she was hip to the game, okay? So, Lunar Brain Fireheart said, "Yeah, I'm gonna get a head start to the moon." Now, I'm trying to figure out, this happened in the 60s. This is a lot. I mean, she is 61 years old now, and this is 2026. She just turned 61. So I could not make the timeline fit. So maybe one of you guys can, but I couldn't. I could not. So here we go. Oh, them folks. Okay, so the father was in South Carolina. The grandparents got custody, which I think Reef and Muff's mom said that would not happen. So he gets married and then gets custody back of the kids. The woman he chose said, so her father and her granddaddy both unalived women, and they both never went to jail. I guess. I guess.
And maybe perhaps that was because she was being abused as well. So
So he was abusing her also.
yes, so maybe that's why she was always so quiet and played in the background of things,
Right.
you know.
Let me
So
let me ask you this one question, Nestos.
uh-huh.
Um, like when you were going, like when you went through those first two episodes, did anybody come to talk to you, or did anybody, say anything to you to try to, help you along the way, or or did you just have to, deal with the trauma on your own, or was it any adult that came to your rescue to try to even talk to you and, try to ease your mind and help you get through with what you just experienced?
No, no one.
Okay, wait a minute. This is important since we were trying to figure. Salato says, I just did a BHM activity and it talked about the Freedom House in Pittsburgh. And they mentioned that before 911, funeral homes would come out in underserved neighborhoods to give help. Okay, okay. Aunt Natty said if her father was alive, how in the whole hell did the grandmother get custody? See, yeah. Real says if this all really happened, no wonder she's a little mentally unstable. Yeah, but see, the thing of it is we have to question, and it's a shame. But I question everything, and I honestly think listen. Y'all don't know. Y'all only know what y'all were told, what V told you, but y'all don't know the conversations and things that we've had with other people. This lady will inundate you with emails, long emails. And the thing about me, if you send me something real long, if it ain't anything I'm interested in, I ain't gonna read it. Now, if you're sending me a story about you that we're going to use for the platform or something, that's different. But when you just start telling me your troubles and your woes, no, and plus, I just did not believe her. So that's why I never read her stuff because I always, yeah. Anyway,
One talked to me. No one gave me the opportunity to talk to anyone else, because once once I we were given to my father, that home became a dungeon for me. I was not allowed outside of the home. I was captured in that house, and every single male that was in the family would violate me day and night. I was constantly violated as a little girl. By the age of 10, I became pregnant, and I even gave a live birth without any prenatal care, any care at all, because I was not allowed outside of the house. I was actually a missing child that nobody knew was missing. And so I was kept in the house. I gave a live birth. I heard the baby cry. I saw the baby briefly in my, I say he's my father, but I use the term sperm donor. I saw the baby briefly in my sperm donor's hand, and then the baby's cry faded. He had taken the baby and he had dug a hole in our backyard and he buried that baby alive. So after that,
Now I'm gonna tell y'all this. I can't remember where I saw this, but I saw this in a movie. This exact thing. Um, if anybody knows what movie it is, please put it in the chat. Because I seen this in a movie. While I am at a stop, we have wow we have another gifted membership. We have one Legacy Moon True Crime and Mysteries membership gifted by Reef and Muff's mom. And let's see who got gifted. Lady Dimples has been gifted one Legacy Moon True Crime and Mysteries membership. Drop your new emojis in the chat, and y'all, please welcome Lady Dimples as a new member.
Welcome, new member! Welcome, new member!
All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thessie Jewel, thank you for the super chat. Oh, wow. Let me get to it. Where is it? Desi Jewel, thank you for the super chat. She said it was the Aretha Franklin movie. Well, how old was she? Was she 10 or 12 uh when she got had that first baby? I thought she was 12. But that burying the baby in the backyard, that happened. Virgo Cali said every other Law and Order SVU. That I'm telling you, UK Poodle says, is she telling Oprah Winfrey's story? I don't know. I don't know. But thank you so much, Thessie Jewel, for the super chat, and also the one that I got earlier from Attitude and Tylenol. All right, let's get back into it.
the way that he would always get my stepmother is that he would send her outside of the house to run errands that he know would take a few hours for her to come back. Like he would send her to the laundromat, to the grocery store, or just send her anywhere where it would take her time, require her to be outside of the house. So this particular day, her intuition was like kind of doing what it do, and she felt like, because when she grabbed me, when she finally got me alone, she even told me, before she got me alone, she returned to the house. My dad was thinking she was going to be gone for a while, and really I think she just went around a corner or two and just gave stuff time to just happen. And so when my dad was doing what he was doing, he heard the car door slam. So he jumps up and he pushed me up and he tell me to run and put my clothes on. So my mother heard
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I will read from us, mom.
me running through the house. And when she came in the house, she called me by my name and she said, look, she said, you're the only child in the house. Why are you running through the house? So I told about 100 lies. And I thought that she believed every one of them
Shit.
because she didn't rebuttal. She didn't say anything. She just let it be. And then later on, my sperm donor left and she came to the room where I was. And she set me down and she said, now I don't see that person that your daddy describes. She said, I don't see that destructive child. I don't see a child that has behavior problems. I don't see any of that. But she said, now, I want you to know that I love you. And if I'm going to help you, you're going to need to be honest with me. So I need you to tell me the truth about what's going on. And I had a moment of truth with her. And I let her know exactly what was going on, what had been going on for many years in that house. And she told me then, she said, okay, gather as many of your things as you can get. We're leaving today. In the process of our leaving, my father drives up and catches us leaving. And here we go again. When we left the house, well, when I left the house, I left with my father and not with my mother because she was believed to be unalive at that time because he beat her and he left her laying, drowning in her blood. We got in the car. We were in South Carolina when we left, and we didn't stop until we got to some of the family's homes in Baltimore, Maryland. And I went to use the bathroom in the house, and I saw a phone in the hallway. So I called my aunt, Colette, and she did accept the call. And I let her know to please get some help out there for my mother. And just by the grace of God, she survived that beating. Now, I have not seen nor talked to her since then. It's been my life dream. I've written letters all over the world to every talk show to see if we can locate her because I just want to tell her thank you, but I have not been able to locate her. She got lost after this. So, but, again, he thought he had killed her, unalived her. So then at that point, he used to have a little bottle of a clear substance with a needle. At that time in my life, I didn't.
Okay, so Attitude and Tylenol says, wait, so no one checked to see if she was alive. That's what I'm talking about. Where'd she go? If she was beaten to the point where he thought he unalived her, what happened? How did she get out of there? How well she says she doesn't know because she never saw her again, okay? But just in your mind, just play it through. You're beaten that bad. Like, how do you go somewhere? What just how? So anyway, yeah, I don't know. Y'all are hearing what I'm hearing. So um Reefing Muff's mom. UK Poodle, she is talking about her life. Her life. This is her life story. I know I've seen things like The Color Purple, Beloved, Flowers in the Attic. I'm seeing all of the names of all of them. I'm just telling you that that burying the baby, I have seen that movie. I just don't know. That's gonna bother me. Sweet Peasy said, "Who was shot between the eyes?" I'm in confused. That was the aunt. That was the aunt when she was 6. That was the aunt when she was 6. Yeah, China from the bushes says, and how was the dad able to marry somebody else? And didn't she say they had a funeral for her mom? Well, that was her bio mom. This mom that they found that he beat once again, and he thought he beat to death was the stepmother. Um, Betsy Jules said he had a clear vow, Lady Sings the Blues. Major's wife says definitely flowers in the attic.
I didn't know what insulin was. I didn't know at all what insulin was, but I learned later that it was insulin. But that's the little bottle that he used to threaten me with. He used to always tell me that it was poison, and he used to tell me in these exact words: "If you tell anybody anything, I'm going to get rid of you like I did your mother.
Wow.
And
So
that,
were you was it still when you were 10 years old, Nestor? So were you
well, by
how
this
had you
time I had got to be just a little older, because I was just a little older, not much older than 10. I had the baby, maybe
hmm
a year or two ahead of 10, because at 13 is when I start to become a runaway. I start running away. I start running away. That's when I start to make my escape. And I ran away, but during that time, here we were now in the early 70s. And during that time, um, it just was no help. We were not heard. It just was no help. Even every time I would run away, it wouldn't matter what I say and who I told, they still would take me home and place me back with him. And so this became a cycle for me. They take me as soon as I can get away. I get away. I stay hidden for as much as possible. But I was a young girl sleeping in to just one particular night, I was just for an hour.
well, hold on 1 second. Your phone is kind of going in and out, so I don't
Oh,
know.
is it?
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
know
can you
what's
hear me
going
now?
on. Yeah, we can hear you better now.
Okay. Well, I was just tired, and at 13 is when I began to run away. And I was sleeping in cars. I was just wherever, whatever. And this particular night,
So
with
apparently,
some woods. So
no, the no, apparently the father was not a drug user. He just used it was insulin, but he used to threaten to unalive her with the insulin. So that we're clear, the father alleged, the aunt is the one who the grandfather pow. Okay, the dad is the one who unalived her mother. Okay, and then fast forward, she's, I guess, 10, and he nearly unalives the stepmother, which when he took her and left, they thought she was unalived, but she was not. So, and let me say this: D Dub says it's weird that she would want to share her story under the name. Yeah, right, exactly. Now, let me say this: what I don't understand is that if this happened, at no time did she tell what she saw. Okay, I get kids are scared, but while she is telling, I have heard 3 4 traumas in here. She was abused daily. When I think about or talk about my abuse, when I hear the abuse, the essay abuses of other people, I sometimes get teary eyed, or I crack a little bit. I try, because being a content creator and being up here, I try to keep it together and not get emotional. But I can't just tell this. I can't. I've talked about it, but I've never told the story, because I can't, because I will crack. Somebody who's had all of these traumas by the age of 10 and a baby, and to be up here being able to tell this and not one tear, one crack in the voice, nothing, is just, I don't get it. Yes, Pimp Out 50. Mimi says, I know why the cage birds sing. Yes, yes. Karen S said there is no periods anywhere, commas, and just left in the cold, just shivering and shaking, waiting to come in. Did I miss somebody's super chat? I don't think I did, but I just got one. Okay. Thank you for the super chat. Chick-fil-A Gal. Chick-fil-A Gal says, Chick-fil-A Gal says she's telling everyone's story but hers. Absolutely. Thessie Jewel, thank you for the super chat. She says from the 60s to the 70s, she's only aged from 10 to 13. Thank you for the super chat, Bessie Jewel. This is why I was telling you guys, pay attention to the details. That's all I want you to do, is to pay attention to the details. All right. Thanks, you guys, for the super chats. Thanks for making that suggestion, Reef and Musmon. This is so much better at a faster speed. I didn't even think about that.
Oh, I went up in the woods. It was dark. I couldn't see nothing in those woods, but I was just tired enough that I was going to go in those woods and I was going to lay down and get me some sleep. And I did just that. I didn't, it wasn't, I didn't think about nothing. I was tired, completely tired. I was mentally worn. I was physically worn. I was just tired. I laid down and I slept good that night. That was the best sleep I had had in a while. And early that morning, I felt something move. And I looked down and it was a snake. I had slept on top of a snake bed. I mean, I was actually in the snake den and they did me no harm, none
Wow.
at all, none at
Wow.
all. God had me covered. But at that time in my life, I did not see God and I could not accept God. I couldn't believe God because what I had learned of God is that he was love. And I didn't see me being loved at all. I didn't see love in my life. The man himself that was supposed to protect me and teach me love taught me nothing but violence and things that does not equal love, you know. So, but God protected me while in the woods that night. And so as time went on, he went and got another wife. Of course, he goes and he marries. And there came another young girl into the household because she had a daughter. And so she was one of those women that when I told her about my father and what he had
Oh,
done,
I'm sorry, y'all. Miss Piggy, Miss Piggy Braxton said, "I'm waiting for her to add me to the story and say what I say. I shot the sheriff." V Lenore is in the chat. What's up, V Lenore? Miss Principal said so. She slept on snakes and the snakes didn't bite her. Laughing my ass off. Yeah, okay. Well, not only that, the snakes not only didn't bite her, but like when you laid down, the snakes did not move or anything. Nothing. They just kind of laid there and okay. Bible lady says, now this took me out. I know you fucking lying. Oh, we've got a member milestone from Reef and Muff's mom. She says, "Oh, I'm sorry. Reef and Muff's mom is celebrating 12 months of membership, and she says, just put the BS emoji on the screen." Oh, I do have a BS emoji. I forgot I did. Girl, thank you for the member milestone, Reef and Muff's mom, and thank you for supporting. I'm holding off on my little musics and things until we get so we can get through this. Bible lady said, I wonder if she ran into Dre in the woods. You see, that's what I'm saying, right? You see stories, yeah. Them folks at OMG, who said this the other night? I thought they were kidding. They weren't. I know, right? See, I did too. I thought it was a joke that I just didn't get, but they were really for real, for real. UK Poodle says Daniel in the lion, I mean snake den. Yeah, that snake story ain't. Bible lady, thank you for the super chat. Bible lady says, what does Bible lady say? Bible lady says, do y'all think this was a scheme set up by Todd? By Todd. Child, I don't know, but y'all are doing just what I asked you to do. Pay attention to the details of the story.
I was the villain. I was the bad person. I was lying. I wanted attention. So she didn't listen to me at all. She didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to hear nothing bad about my sperm donor. So, of course, what she does is subject her daughter to the situation. And afterwards,
Now, please remember, sperm. When she says sperm donor, she is referring to her father. Um, V. Lenore says somebody in the chat said she slept in a snake bed last night, and I didn't believe them. I thought they were being sarcastic. I can't believe I walked in on her confirming the ridiculous story. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I thought I thought it was a joke that I just didn't get. But apparently it really happened.
wow, or maybe from the beginning, I actually know when it started with her daughter. but her daughter did come to me and let me know that she was being abused.
Mm-hmm.
So, I could not do anything for her daughter. I couldn't take her out the house because I didn't want those type of charges placed on me. So what I would do is go back to the house and be her sacrifice. I would put myself in her place. So if he had to just mess with somebody, it would just be me. I was trying to take it away from her. I didn't want her to have to suffer because she was so much younger than I was. And I didn't want her to have to go through what I had already gone through. But even with me thinking that's what I was doing, it wasn't that way because he was just abusing both of us at that point. But she had a mother that just would not listen. She had a grandmother, and when she even explained it to her grandmother and told her mother and her grandmother told her that if he was messing with her, that's because she wanted it. So
Wow.
yeah. So
Mother,
there, huh?
Are you going to say something, Vaughn?
no, I said, my God.
Oh, okay.
And so I spent years trying to get my sister out.
Also, let me say this. First of all, help me understand the BS. Wants me to ask Native if I can borrow his dumb shit wheel. Okay. Southside Chi-Town says, stop it, get some help. And in my MJ voice, Mimi said, I missed a daughter's birth. No, okay, so we're on wife 3. We're on wife 3. Wife 3 had a daughter, and this daughter was being abused. So, she was running away. So, in between her running away, she went back so that the father could abuse her. She wanted to take the abuse so that the stepsister didn't go through what she went through. But it turns out he was abusing both of them. Okay. Only me 23 said, yeah, she's mental. First of all, it's like I will be clear with y'all. I don't believe this. I don't believe any of this. And she does need help. Could she have been a victim of something? Yes, maybe. But I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. Natasha Razor Glam says, why did she do like her granddad and just go over to her father's house and clean her gun?
My sister, we're not related really, but my sister. And so later years she finally did get out. What we both did to escape is that we ran from.
Oh, I know what I wanted to say. What I would have done, and this is not to criticize the panel, but in these inconsistencies or these things that just didn't make sense, I would have asked questions. I also would have asked for a clear timeline because I'm not getting 10 to 6 to she was kept in a house for a whole year. So that means at 10 years old she didn't go to school because she was a captive. So there was no school. She's not them folks because it's the stepsister. It's the stepsister. So Miss Piggy Braxton is acting up.
My sperm donor's house right into the arms of the first man that would receive us into his house. But we left one situation and just went to the next situation because we were still being abused. We were still, having to endure abuse. We found men like the sperm donor, maybe not to the degree that they were doing anything to their own children, but they certainly didn't have any respect for women. So I had to experience the DV at that point because the first time out the house. Now I'm at about. I spent my teen life as a runaway and in and out of juvenile facilities. So I graduated out of the system is what I did. I got old enough I aged out of the system. So now I'm a young adult and I'm still alone by myself, nobody else. And I aged out of the system right to the streets.
So when you say system, are you talking about like foster care or?
Yes,
or was it like a juvenile detention? Because back in that time,
I was placed in foster care. I was placed in group homes. I was placed in juvenile facilities.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you run away back in those times, they would put you in juvenile
Yeah,
versus a foster home.
Yeah, I was placed in juvenile facilities, so I finally aged out.
Attitude and Tylenol, thank you for the super chat. In the arms of the angels, far away from here. That's all. Mimi says she hasn't mentioned school at all. A teacher would have noticed something. Well, remember, in and out of facilities. This is what I'm talking about. I would have. Did I say thank you for that super chat? Thank you for the super chat. Attitude and Tylenol. As in, if I were the person interviewing her, I would have asked these questions. I would have. Only me 23 says she had a full term baby at 10. No notice. She So dad delivered the baby and buried him in the backyard, but when she grew up, she never reported it, at least got the remains uh, for burial. And that is a thing because I have seen that on TV shows where it has happened. Y'all know I watch true crime, and that is a good point. Only me, 23, that I did not think of. So yes, thank you. That is a very good point, and thank you for pointing that out. But uh, I just now in The Color Purple, when Celia was having these babies, Mister was just taking them and giving them away, but this person took the baby and buried it alive. I guess people can be cruel. To bury a okay. Let's see. Real said I was a young adult in the 70s. I'm 75. V. Lenore says she is making me angry. I can't. See y'all later. Yeah, and I know that this is triggering because of what you have been through, like over the past few days, V. So I get that. I get that.
those facilities.
Mhm.
And so now I am a young adult, and I meet a man that's actually in the army. When we meet, he's in the army, and I sit down and I question him, like, hey, do you drink? I ask all the questions, to kind of um not go, get involved with the usual man like my dad. And he answered the question about drinking. Just an example. When I say, do you drink? He say on occasions. But what he didn't say is that everything was an occasion. He wake up in the morning, that's an occasion. He put on a shoe, that's an occasion. Stuff like that.
Mhm.
So he was
So he
being,
was basically an alcoholic at that point, you would
yeah, he
say?
was an alcoholic and he was on drugs.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and he eventually got a dishonorable discharge. But by this time, I am pregnant with my, I'm pregnant for the first time by this time. And I'm getting ready to deliver my first child. And I count that child as my first child because the actual first child was conceived in the way that it was. So now I'm pregnant. I'm starting my family, and I'm with the man that's an alcoholic and a drug user. And oh boy, did I get beat! I got beat so bad I started having seizures. He was wearing my head out. And so when I got enough strength to leave, when I finally took my baby and I left, I stayed gone for a long time, and then we get back together, and he assures me that he's changed and that he wants to be a part of this children's life and all the works. And I get back into the situation only to have another child and go back through the same thing. So now it's just me and my children, and I have to find a way to survive, to keep my children, and to live for my children at this point. So I worked a job. Well, the job that I got was third shift. Well, okay. The job that I got was third shift. So he would come and he would keep the children during the night while I go to work, and then when I come in the morning, he would leave.
Mind you, for those of you who may not know, I think she's 18 now. She's 18. No later, no older than she ain't 20 yet. Okay, I just wanted to point that out. Okay. Stop the presses, children. I thought it was one child when she left. All right, China from the bushes, who is paying attention. I wanted to see, was anybody going to catch that? And you did. You did.
Even so, that's the way we work things out to suffice for child support. So this particular morning, I come home and I'm getting out my car, and I could hear my little 4-year-old.
And okay, first of all, by the way, how are you working out something for child support if the two of you are back together? I mean, I don't know, but I want you, and I want to say this is the story is a trigger warning. Okay, this is a trigger warning. So just be prepared. Just be prepared.
Screaming and crying. And I'm like, okay, what is wrong? So I open the door and I'm going, I'm at the door and I'm like, why are you crying? And she said, Mommy, I didn't did it. I didn't did it. So I say, what didn't you did? Because when she said that, she was real serious. So I
Yeah.
asked her, I said, what didn't you did? She said, I didn't did it. I didn't did it. So I asked her dad, and at that time, her dad and my youngest brother and a friend was in the house. And I asked her dad, I said, what is going on? He said, she got a spanking for wetting the bed. Well, I didn't spank for wetting the bed. I never spanked for wetting the bed. So I picked her up. And when I picked her up, she was bleeding between her legs.
Lord have mercy.
My 4-year-old daughter had been taken advantage of.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that.
I'm so sorry. Not too.
So as a mother, I wasn't thinking. I just wanted to clean her up. And that's the first mistake I made, because I did clean her up before taking her to the hospital. So we get to the hospital and they checking her out, and they came out and they talked to me and told me, they just really, I knew what had happened. When they told me, it became real to me, really real to me, because they didn't just say she had been violated. She had also contracted a STD at 4 years old.
Wow.
So I called a friend and I asked a friend to come to the hospital. And he came on to, I asked him to just sit there, until the doctor through with the examination to see what would happen next, because I knew that the police and everybody would be called at this time. So I asked him to sit there, with my baby for me, and he agreed to. And he didn't ask me any questions. He didn't ask not one question. So I got in the car and I drove to.
So you left your girl child in a house full of men. Okay. Attitude and Tylenol said, "Is this for colored girls?" Um, Let me see. Thessie Jules said, "Didn't she say the year old was a boy?" I'm trying to fit because now see, now we're back to just one child, and this happened when this child was 4. So your child's violated. You clean her up, then take her to the hospital, and they confirm she was violated and she has an STD. I didn't know you could tell an STD that fast. I mean, I guess you can do blood tests. Maybe somebody can tell me who's a nurse. That's see, Joel. Can they determine that fast? STD. Karen S says, "I am an SA survivor and a victim of molestation. It's so offensive to lie about it. Shout out to all the mental providers and counselors praying for people who helped me." Now, she got choked up over this incident with her daughter, so I mean, it might be true. But she's in a situation where she's in a house full of men and you have been um oh, Miss Lady said the movie was Sling Blade. You're in a house with you leave them with these men. You take your baby to the hospital, confirm everything, and then you leave your child with another male. I can't make that make sense. I just can't. Sweet Peasy said, "I wouldn't have had the wherewithal to clean my baby up. Somebody alive, would been alive that same day." I know you meant unalived. I know you did.
The nearest pawn shop, and I asked the guy, I said, "Can I look at a few of your pow pows?" And I
Mm-hmm.
did, and I found one that was comfortable in my hand. I didn't pay for it, but I walked out that door with it because I was on a mission. So of course now I'm finna start my criminal background because I walked out with that pow pow. I went to another store and I asked for the um the bullets for the pow pow. I got those too. I didn't pay for nothing. And I went back to the house to find her dad. By that time, he and the guys had left, and they had went down to this little place that we called the Grill. It was a bar, grill, and pool hall. And when I saw him, I saw them, and they were standing in a crowd of men.
Mm.
So
the shot in the air because I wanted to just spread the crowd. I wanted who I wanted. I didn't want nobody else. It wasn't like that. I wanted who I wanted.
Mhm.
So we're clear. She stole the piece from the pawn shop. She stole bullets from wherever she stole them from. She went down to this bar where they were all hanging out. Okay, and she shot up in the air because she wanted the crowd to disperse. So that's where we are.
And police was already looking for me because I didn't already started, I done did what I did. So the police had already been called. When the pow pow was fired into the air, police had to be somewhere near.
Bible lady, see, there you go. And I was about to say that same thing. When I heard her say that, this is what I thought about. Bible lady said, and wasn't Jarvis Butts accused of giving a toddler he violated an STD, coincidence or not? And yes, and by the way, it was a 4-year-old. Siri Colette says this is truly a few lifetime movies combined. I'm just getting home. I wanted to chat on my whole drive home. So she went down to the juke joint, okay? And yeah, shot up in the air. Attitude Tylenol said, wait, I went to get snacks for the movie. How how did we get to the shooting in the air? Girl, we are not going over that story again. Crystal Carrington said a combination of forensic files and law and order. Aunt Natty said if there were 3 men in the house, how did she know who did it and what happened to the other children? Listen, it started off as one child. It turned into children. We're now back to one child. So I can't answer that. But that's what I want to know. How did she know who had the STD? But did anybody ever answer me? Can they tell that fast that you contracted an STD? Like, I know they give you something for, I think they do a thing for HIV now that they give you to take, and something just in case you have STDs. But can they confirm in the, let's say we're in the mid to late 70s, maybe early 80s, I don't know, because like I said, nobody's keeping up with the timeline. But couldn't they tell by then? I mean, could they tell that soon that you had an STD?
Nearby because it would only take seconds for them to get on the scene at that point. And as the police was coming, I pulled and I was aiming at the people that I had come for. And one of the police officers got out the car in time enough to knock my head back in the air. So now I got a
And so,
baby.
well, hold on one second, Esther. So you're saying this is in the 70s at this point that this
Now
happened?
we're
Like
in the 80s.
now we're in the
the
80s.
80s
Okay.
when my children, when my children were in the 80s.
Okay.
See, now we're
The police,
now we're back to children. We're back to children.
he's knocked the gun, or not, he knocked the pow pow. He was able to just move my arm enough to where I was shooting in the air. And so they arrest me. They charge me with every charge they can get out of that. Everything that I could be charged with, they hit me with it. So I lost custody of my children.
Mhm.
I sat in jail for a while. Then I went to trial. And when I went to trial, I had the opportunity to speak to the judge, or the judge was acquainted with what happened with my story. And so just before sentencing, he gave me the opportunity to speak. And the only thing I knew how to say was, Your Honor, if I had the opportunity to do it all over again, I wouldn't waste that bullet in the air. I'd shoot through the crowd. And he dropped his head and he said, I want you to know that you haven't done anything that I would not have done. But I can't let you walk back like I had planned.
Okay, your phone is
Because
going. Your
I was
phone is
planning
kind of
to
going
send
in
him
and
home.
out.
Can you
We
hear
heard
me
you.
now?
Yeah, we heard you when you say the judge
Okay.
said that you
Yeah, he
wouldn't have
said
done
he was
anything that I did.
okay. Well, he said he was planning to send me home on house arrest for a while. But after I said that if I had a second chance, I wouldn't miss. I wouldn't shoot in the air. I would shoot through the crowd. So the judge just dropped his head and he said, I'd rather sentence you now than to let you go home and have to sentence you for that particular crime later. So he
So the
gave
judge gave her time in jail because she made that statement. She said, if I had it to do all over again, I'd aim for him. So he was going to send her home on home confinement, but instead he gave her 2 years. Now, let me say this about home confinement. I don't know when this happened. I know in the very late 70s to the very early 80s, I think it was San Diego who had a home detention thing that they did for juveniles. And this was just San Diego. By, I think, 83 or 84, that's when the home confinement system where they put something to your ankle came about. So if she said this is in the 80s, so this would have had to been at least um past the 83 if they were going to offer home confinement. Bessie Jewel, thank you for the super chat. She says they could not know in 5 minutes back then. Okay, I didn't think so. I didn't think so.
Me a sentence, committed me to the Department of Corrections, not to exceed 2 years. But within those 2 years, I had to go through all kinds of counseling. I had to have that counseling at that point. But by this point, I was about maybe 25. So I had gone from the age 6 to 25 with all this trauma, never having any counseling.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to the Department of Correction, and everything that the judge ordered, they made sure that I had all the classes that I had to take, all the therapy that they felt that I needed. The judge sent the orders, and they made sure that I got it while I was in the Department of Corrections. So the judge had already ordered not to exceed 2 years. That means that I could have stayed from 1 day to 2 years, but I couldn't exceed the 2 years. They brought my children to visit me while I was in prison. And when they brought my babies in, they played, they had a good time. They was like real happy, joyous. And when it was time to go, oh man, those kids had a death grip. They could not, it was adults there trying, men trying. They could not get those children to free me. My baby was about to choke the life out of me. She had my neck. So she had such a grip. She had a death grip. And they weren't crying for me to come home. That's what got me. They weren't crying for me to come home with them. They were crying to stay in that prison with me. And so a warden came in, and the warden took me. Yeah, the warden took me into her office, and she talked to me, and she said, I'm going to do everything I can to get you home, back to your children from this point on. And she did. She signed that paperwork.
The warden did this. The warden wanted to get her back home, and so the warden was able to do this.
And within a year, I was out the door. I was out of prison. I started my fight to get custody of my children back. And that took a while because the state just took me through so many changes. No matter what I did, they add something else for me to do. So eventually, I would get custody back of my children. But let me go back to prison for a while. Let me go back to prison because this is important.
Okay.
Like I say,
and can I ask you a question about that too, about the prison before you go, before you finish up with that? And plus, I feel like I need to kind of intercept a little bit so you can gather your thoughts good. But when the judge ordered you to take training and to take classes and to take therapy, well, not training, but he made you take classes and he made you take therapy. What were you thinking then? Did you feel like that finally I'm going to get some help, or were you just like, I don't really want to do this? I don't know, because I can understand you being upset because you're just trying to protect your child, and the corrections, the system, put you in jail, because you're trying to protect your kids. So how was you feeling about the therapy and the classes that they made you take? Were you reluctant to go, or were you willing to go, or how did you feel at that point?
I was willing to go. And when we're speaking of the system now that all of this has happened, I was sent to prison for 2 years, not to exceed 2 years. But my brother, the friend, and my children's dad only got a spank on the hand because they got probation. I was the one sent away. My children were the one that sent away. So we're still suffering. We're still getting the bad end of the deal. We're still the ones that's suffering because they got probation. I got sent, and we were separated from one another. So we were still suffering, but I was not reluctant. The only thing I was reluctant about, again, was God. Because I could not see God. I could not feel God. I could not accept that God would allow me to go through all of this. I just could not. It just didn't register to me. But while in prison, the warden and the chief of police came to my cell one day, and they were talking to me, and something was said, but for the first time, they saw me smile. And so they looked at me, they said, you have such a beautiful smile. Why don't you practice that more often? But I didn't have anything to smile about, just in that moment.
Can I just say, see, this is bothering me. Can I just say, working in corrections, I could say that the warden doesn't do anything but run the prison. He does not get you out of jail. These things are determined by judges. You are told what you're supposed to do when you are released. You report to the places that they tell you to report to. You a warden can't get you. Now, can a warden speak on your behalf? Yeah. But a warden he can't just sign papers and ooh, you go. Mocha and Dimple says so. Her brother, her kid's father, and a friend essayed the child. No, I don't know. She is giving that the father's her husband's friend did it, but she never said that. But she went to unalive him, so I don't even know how she came to that conclusion that he was definitely the one. Shonda not rhymes says Eve's Bayou type of stuff. We can put together a lot of movies, and I want to repeat what I said earlier. There are people, I feel like her story is a combination of other people's stories. For example, Queen Lily. And Queen Lily, these people have books. Queen Lily, um Rakia, let me see who else. A Little Piece of Mind, other people's stories. And if you listen, it'll come to you. Bessie Jules says she's talking about Chief Gillespie. Bessie Jules, thank you for the super chat. The woman he chose said she said that all three got probation. Did she? I didn't. Did y'all hear that? I didn't hear that. Crystal Carrington said J. Edgar Hoover stopped by with some encouraging words as well. Miss Principal said they need to take her TV out the room. I know, right? Really? Oh, so she did. Oh, she did. I do remember that now. She said they got probation and she went to. But here's the thing: why they get probation? Why she was aiming at this friend? Why did they get probation? What did they? What did he? See, this is what I'm saying. This is a part of. I need to stop you. Like, who got probation? See, okay. Let me shut up. Okay.
Moment, the chief of police said something that kind of got me, and
Chief
so from that
Gillespie.
moment, I was allowed visitors from a church, and this particular elder, well, the elder used to come more often than anyone else, but he made sure he was there. He made sure that while I was there, I had support, because during that time we were able to wear our own clothing, own shoes. We were able to receive food in from the outside. It was more of a college campus, to be quite honest. So but this elder came in, and one day he was talking to me, and he told me, he called me by my name, and he said, God loves you. And I'm looking at him like, be real. God can't love me. So
Right.
he he was talking to me, and he started praying for me. And then he would say it again. He said, God loves you. He said, I want you to understand something. He said, I can't explain why God has permitted all of this trauma in your life. He said, I'm not going to try to explain that. That's something you will learn better by and by. He said, but what I will tell you is this, that if you were the only individual born into this world, Jesus would have come here, died, suffered, died, and bled, did all that for you because he loves you. I have been hearing the verse, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but should have everlasting life. But I heard that as being a general statement. It was not just me. But this today, he made it personal. He gave it to just me. He put me just me in that scripture, just me. And at that moment, things began to turn for me because now God is personal to me. And I have had many days where I have had to, God, why me? And then I got to a point that I stopped asking God.
Salt and Pepper Trust is the better question is why did the three men get probation? What did they do? Did all of them do something to the child? See, this is what I'm saying. Unanswered questions that I would have stopped her at okay, why did all three of the men get probation? Because when she went down there to the juke joint, she was only aiming at one person. Okay, so I don't understand how they got probation. I have forgotten that, I saw that. Sylvia has not joined the story yet. Maybe she has. Let me think. Oh my gosh. Brother loves baby oil. Yes, she has. She has, because if you remember, Sylvia's mother had was impregnated by her father, her bio dad. So yeah. 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 Ray Della Lewis said, God out there catching strays.
Why me? I ask God, why not me now? Because I understand that maybe it wasn't for me. My suffering wasn't for me. Maybe my suffering has been for somebody else. Maybe my trauma, my trials have actually been for other people, not so much for me. But then I could see where it was to benefit me too, because that's what it took for me to see God, to believe God. But I think that, like, just being fanatical with God, I say, well, Lord, just like you could have done with Eve in that garden, all you had to do was slap her and put some sense in. That's all you had to really do. Just slap me one time. You didn't have to take this route with me, did you know? Because I still wonder about that. I still wonder, God, why so much trauma to children? Because a lot of children do not survive it. Like my therapist have often told me, you know, you're supposed to be an alcoholic. You're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be that. He said,
Delicate Dell, thank you. That is a good point. Delicate Dell said police officers do not walk up on a person with a pointed gun. And that's true, especially one of us, especially where are we in the 80s? Mm-mm. So that's a good point, Delicate Dell. Thank you.
they tell me with people who have suffered as much trauma as you have, they do not operate in their right mind. But I have never had to deal with psych drugs or anything like that. I've always had my right mind. God has always kept me, like He kept me in the snake's pit. He kept my mind, and He kept my mind intact. That no matter what I was going through, no matter what I had to deal with, I was able to deal with it and just accept it, go through what I have to go through, and somehow see Him, see the good in it, find the peace in it. And I've been able to do that so far, even though some days are a little harder than other, because I still wrestle with it, because I have a daughter and I have a niece that have been violated. And I look at them and I see how, like, I expect them to be me, but I have to understand they're not me, because they deal with it totally differently than I do. Even my sister, she deals with it totally different. Like my sister, for instance, the way she deals with it is that she is holier than thou. How you doing? She say, praise the Lord. God is good. Child, and everything be about God. She does not deter from that. She don't have no other life outside of that. You can ask her anything, she gonna find a way to revert back to a scripture, Bible. She don't kid, she don't do none of that. But that's her way of coping with her trauma, and I get that. My daughter, she was an alcoholic. She was promiscuous. She was they tried drugs. My niece, she was very promiscuous. She was, she didn't love herself. And I have to take them by the hand. Like on Sundays, we have a Zoom call scheduled every Sunday, and we call it Girls Day Out. And we just hang out and talk about the trauma, because I can't get them to go to therapists. They think that's taboo. So I have to kind of learn from my therapist and then teach it, give it to them. And they're learning as they get older how to deal with it without being promiscuous, without um, the lack of love for self. So they are coming into themselves. But what happens is this: their abusers are still around, and they see their abusers, and their abusers, every single chance they get, would throw it up in their face, would remind them. And I got one
Hmm.
one one person that often tells them, that it was not his fault, that as children, as babies, they got on top of him and rolled his, and that gets me. That's when I'm about to lose control again, because right then, right there, I'd be ready to go repeat that thing and go on and spend the rest of my life on up in a prison somewhere. But
Mm-hmm.
um that's the hard part about them. They, no matter how I push them, encourage them, y'all, please, let's go, let's do it as a family. Now they feel free talking to me and they express it to me, and I'm okay with talking to them. But sometimes I live my pain all over again. And I have to find strength for me and for them at that time. Because even my sons often tell me, Mama, we didn't realize you had to go through so much. And my sons apologize to me all the time, because my sons are determined. They have been determined ever since they have learned what I have gone through and what their sister went through. They have been determined that this thing stops with them. It's not going to happen with them. They are determined. And so when I talk to my sons and my daughters, they always apologize to me. I have to apologize to them. But overall, we do good. We find a way to cope. We find strength in each other. And so um, that's where we are with that right now. We still got some of the abusers are still around in our midst, and I have to pray. I have to stay prayed up. Even though y'all see me in these chats acting up, talking junk, all while I'm talking junk, I'm praying. I would cuss Sonya Slam out and be praying for her at the same time. And I say, well, Lord, I know I can't talk about the girl and pray for her. Really pray for her at the same time. So help me with that too. But I have to really pray because now.
Well, apparently he hasn't helped, which is another reason why at one particular time, when I unmodded her, she was also blocked from the chat because her messages were just too vulgar. And I will give you an example of that. She put in, we had just been talking about the CP charges, about the pictures, all of that. And then I think I was playing a call and she put one thing I noticed, like if I send somebody to the moon or something like that, the more I do that, the more vulgar she gets. And I don't read the comments. I wouldn't read them. I mean, that should have been a clue right there. But one day I accidentally clicked on it and was reading because I was just doing more like a lot of things. Um, can Ahmad put my Cash App in the chat? No, it's still the same. But could Ahmad put it in there? But she put in the chat, oh, Sonya was somewhere busy sucking a dog's, what. And I thought that was, first of all, that was just nasty. It was very vulgar, inappropriate, especially since we had just got done talking about these babies and these animals and these pictures that Nesto had. So that bothered me. And now I was about at my wits end on that one. But I let it go. I let it go. Um but I that one did it for me because I'm like, we just got finished talking about this. It was a very sensitive thing, and this is what you put in the chat. No, Reef and Muff's mom says I remember that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That really bothered me. I guess I ain't got no mods up in here.
That I'm here with my, here in this situation. I did go on to, I mean, when I was approaching my 50s, I had decided, well, girl, you're not going to have that Tyler Perry wedding that you desire. That's not going to happen. You're already 50 or you're nearing 50 at this time. And this man comes into my life. Dating season was good. It was really good, because he did.
It's in the chat. It was just put in the chat by Cupcakes. I'll pin it up there for a minute.
In one state and I lived in another. So we would see each other on weekends or, whenever he was off and traveled. He traveled for the first year, he traveled to see me. And then after about a year, he invited me to his hometown or state to stay a year. He told me to come in and sign a lease that year, see if I would like it. So I came in and I signed a lease here. And it was supposed to be experimental. We had an understanding, or so I thought, that I would maintain my household and he would stay where in his household. But after a while, it became apparent that we were cohabitating. So my spiritual dad, the one that came to me.
Okay, so Nestos, your phone went out again. We heard your spiritual dad, and then it went out.
Okay, yep. Okay, my spiritual dad had the one that was visiting me in prison. He had instilled a lot into me. I tell everybody the good in me, I can only accredit to him. I can't give it to my sperm donor. He is he's my dad. He's the real dad. He's the real hero in my life. And so I could, because he was a pastor, like it was a mission of mine not to ever bring any embarrassment to him. I was always careful of what I did, how I did it, because he was a local elder. So when I moved to the state where I am now, the agreement, like I say, was that the guy that I was dating was going to be staying in his home and I would have my own home. And we would just see each other here and there, whatever. It was just a trial for me to come see if I liked being here. And so after a while, it became very apparent that we were cohabitating. So it just didn't set right with me to be cohabitating. And when I went to him to let him know that the cohabitating was not going to work for me, I couldn't do it. The convictions that I had just was not going to allow me to live like that. So he'd sit down and he talked to me and told me that he was ashamed to tell me, but he had lost his place because his roommate did not take care of his responsibilities and left him in a bind. So he ended up losing his place. Well, I let the cohabitating go on a little while longer, and then my spiritual dad started talking to me about the situation. So I went back to him and I said, "Look,
Now, I don't know if any of you are confused like me, but how did we go from he lost his place? So I thought she was going to visit him so that she could see if she liked living there where he was. How did we um anybody? Uh anybody? Them folks said, how many dads does she have? Remember the guy who was coming to see her in prison and who told her, that God loves her or whatever he told her. So that's the spirit. That is the spiritual dad. Okay. Lexley, the law nerd, we've been here from the start and we're all in confusement because the story is not making you said I said, can we go faster? That's each other. Oh, Lunar Brain Fireheart says, we are in total confusement. Chick-fil-A Gail said that ninja was living in a halfway house and, and then moved in with her. And Thursday Joe keeps saying, Chief Gillespie. Oh, my. All right. And like I said, y'all, because my theory at this point is don't start none, won't be none. And now I just want to show, like, some of us as content creators, and but you see the thumbnail. So anyway, you know, I don't like the fact that you gonna try to weaponize the illnesses that the four of us have against us. That's what did it. That's what did it for me. So I want an understanding of what the hell is wrong with you. I don't believe your story, and I'm pointing out why I don't believe it as we go. But we're gonna keep on going, and so y'all want Alvin and the Chipmunk speed. All right. All right, y'all.
you're going to have to find something to do, go to your mother's house, whatever. But we can't live like this. This is not how it's going to be done with me." So then he proposed, and we went on down to the courthouse. I didn't have a wedding. We went on to the courthouse. We got married because we were already living together. We were already doing things as husband and wife. So I ended up marrying this guy. About 6 months later, I did have a wedding. We got married, and well, got married again. We had a wedding
Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. I don't call out the names on super chats, but thank you so much.
to include the family.
Um, Rakia, is anything sounding familiar to you?
The friends, because everybody thought that in that 6 month period nobody knew that I had just quietly married him. And so when we informed the family that we were going to be married, it was at that wedding that they learned that we were already married, because the pastor had to say, because of the pastor's wording. So they realized that we had already at some point gotten married. But 1 month after we had the wedding, my spiritual father had a massive stroke, and so I had to go back home to be with him. And when he was discharged from the hospital, while in the hospital, he had a massive stroke. He became completely paralyzed. And he asked me to do one thing, and that was not to put him into a nursing facility. He asked me to please not nursing facility. So they taught me how to get a durable power attorney, healthcare power attorney, so that I would be able to make decisions for him. And so when they discharged him, I stayed in that state for a while with him to help care for him. And then after a while, when he was able and better to travel, we brought him to live with us in our home. I was fully committed to caring for my spiritual dad. It was a privilege because he had cared for me in a vulnerable time in my life. He had prayed me through, cried me through so much in my life that it was a privilege that I could be able to take him. So I was fully committed.
Thanks for the super chat. Rakia says, long as she don't write a book or I will sue her ass. Did not tell you. Vaguely familiar. I'm telling you. Queen Lily, Rakia, you put it together and you start to say, where have I heard this? Where did I read this? That's what I'm saying. I'm listening to this and I'm like, is this a movie? Did I see? So yeah. By the way, If y'all do not have Rakia's book, it is available on Amazon. Where's that book at? It's available on Amazon, and I will put it on my what do you call it? My community wall. Um, Rakia has been through a lot. She has been a victim herself. She is a longtime survivor, and she is now living. She's a survivor and living with AIDS and HIV. So if you do not, she's also an advocate. So if you do not have that book, please, please, please check it out, because we also like to support our people. And in case you're listening somewhere or in here under a bootleg name, she gonna sue your ass if you write a book.
Meanwhile, my husband was actually in agreement. He actually was on board.
Oh, here, I got it. I got it. Rakia's book is called Living My Truth: Survival of Child Abuse. And it is available on Amazon.
he made the suggestion, as a matter of fact. So we're here. I'm caring for my dad, which is a full-time position for me now, because he needed full-time care. I had to change him. I had to bathe him. I had to, give him shots. I had to do everything, just everything. So my husband is the only one that's working, and he was gone most of the time during this time, and I really didn't pay things no attention. It didn't really occur to me what he might have been doing besides working, or it didn't even occur to me that he was doing something other than what he say he was doing when he wasn't home. So because my mind
Mm-hmm.
was taking care of my spiritual dad, that was my mind, that was my mission. Nothing else really mattered. And my days, I would be so exhausted sometimes that, like I say, nothing else really mattered. I didn't pay any attention to what else was going on or not going on. So I had a friend to come to me, and he sat me down. He talked to me. He said, every time I see you, your husband is never home. He said, have it ever occurred to you that man got another family? I said, well, yeah, I know he has a daughter. He said, no, it's more than that going on. So I was like, I still got my husband benefit of the doubt. I asked him, he denied it. Okay, well, I'm good. Life goes on. So after a while,
Right.
like my husband, he was responsible for taking care of things outside of the home, and I was responsible for the home and the care of my spiritual dad. And so this particular day, at about 5 minutes before a constable shows up at my door, my husband calls and he says, we are about to be evicted. I'm like, evicted? Why? Because I know I was paying the rent. I was giving him money for the rent, and I was doing this faithfully, doing it on time. And so he tells me, he comes up with this convoluted story that somebody in the rent office was taking the money, but they're only taking my money. They're only taking money for this apartment. So we went through the eviction, and for the first time, I had to separate from my spiritual father. I had to let him go live with my younger daughter in another state, because I had to try to get life for me together. So I ended up homeless in a hotel room, and my husband had been gone for about a week. It didn't faze me. It didn't bother me. But what bothered me is that he was supposed to pay for my hotel room, and he wasn't there to pay for my hotel room. And I had no money. I really had no way of getting money because it was snow and ice on the ground. But he had called the hotel manager and told the hotel manager that he was coming in, because I expected the hotel manager just to tell me I had to leave at any moment. But nevertheless, my husband finally gets there to pay for the room. So when he comes to the room, I got an attitude, and I forget how I said it. I don't know whether I said it
Joel.
with bass in my voice or whether I said it, just in general. But I remember asking him, where have you been? What is going on?
Can't wait to hear where he's been. So, I have pinned Rakia's book at the top of the page. You'll see it there. And Black but Not Bitter